Hi there, folks. We're at the time of the year where many of you ask me for study tips. What else can I do to study? I think that many of you likely overlook some of the great features that are available for you in mastering. So, to that end, let me show you a few things that can help. The first thing I'd like to suggest, if you happen to have the Etext, and yes, I realize not everybody has the Etext, there's more coming for those of you who don't, but if you happen to have the Etext, then you want to check out Etext Study Tools. Let's take a look. From Mastering's homepage, click on Etext, then wake that Etext up. And before you even start reading, what I want you to do is look near the top and look for Study Tools. This will open up a panel showing every individual chapter. Now, I'm going to use this video for both A&P1 and A&P2, so I'm not going to pick on any particular chapter along the way as we go through these samples. Here, I'm going to open up chapter 14 just because. For every chapter, we have cards, which are basically flashcards, matching, and then practice. So let me show you all of these. For cards, what we're going to see is basically a card with usually a pronunciation. Flip it around and you've got a definition. You can favorite these if you'd like to. Looks like for this particular chapter there's 17 terms that you'll be looking at. Looks like that one's adrenal medulla, talks about what that is. If that's something I'm going to have you know, then by all means tag that as a favorite. And you can kind of flip through these. You can actually scroll through them all if you'd like to before you flip any of those over. And that's cards. Matching will show you 3 terms with 3 definitions. Here's adrenal medulla, there's adrenergic receptors, there's acetylcholine. You can pick any of these and then pick a definition to see if it matches, and if they don't, it's going to turn red and jiggle at you. On the other hand, if you pick one and it matches, you're going to get some points here. These are not points that matter at all toward your grade. It's just a little game to play yourself. Looks like I earned 200 points in this game. Adrenergic, that's going to be receptors. Yeah, we got that one right. Hey, I bet I can match these last two. This term is going to go with this definition. So I got that one right, and it's going to bring up another set. It looks like for this chapter, I've got 6 sets of matching items to play with. So that is matching. Once you've exhausted those for each of the chapters for your test, then open up practice. And that's going to give you several different kinds of little quiz type questions. Again, no points associated with these at all. They're ways for you to get in and study. This one, a series of events in which a sensory stimulus in an organ leads to a predictable visceral motor response mediated by the autonomic nervous system. That sounds to me like a visceral reflex arc. Hey, I got that one right, so yay. This one's going to be a card. Let's flip that around. Hang on, what was that? Sympathetic nervous system. Is that the fight or flight division? It is, but let me get it wrong and see what happens. Nah, it's going to toggle and say that's wrong. Oh, this looks like a fill in the blank. You can skip these if you don't want to. A collection of autonomic ganglia located in a chain along the vertebral column. That's a sympathetic chain. And it actually wanted me to do sympathetic chain ganglia. I misspelled this one, or I didn't add in the word ganglia, so I'm just going to tag that, and it's going to give me credit for that. Again, keep in mind, these are not for points at all. It's purely a learning experience. Looks like there are a total of 17 of these. I've done 3 of them. So you can do these for each chapter and have a little bit of practice, a little bit of understanding of the topics that are covered in those chapters. Again, you've got to have the Etext in order to make this happen. So there you go. While we're in the Etext, let me show you something else. Let me scroll down to a chapter. Doesn't really matter which one. I'm going to open up endocrine, which is what A&P2 started with, and we're going to open up, say, the adrenal glands. One thing I'd like you to know here is you've got a lot of power with the Etext. You can scroll down, read along, and pick an item that maybe you want to know more about. Maybe you want to keep this as a main idea. Or maybe you have a question about it. Maybe you could even leave yourself a note. Remember to ask about this over in GroupMe. And that would be saved so you can come back. You can see you've got a highlight here. You might notice that it's yellow, and remember that yellow is where you have questions. You can pop that open and see what's going on. These questions, these highlights are going to remain in your Etext pretty much forever. So that's another feature that's kind of handy in the Etext. And it can help you organize thoughts that you've got along the way, questions that you've got, ideas you want to be sure you remember for the test. So here's the question that I hate that I've got to ask. You actually have opened the study area, right? If you haven't, then by all means get in there. It will help enormously. If you have, and I think most of you probably have, I'm betting there's at least one or two things I'll show you that you've not found yet. When you open the main study area page, there's kind of a table of contents, and right at the very beginning, there's a study by chapter. When you open those up, there's some neat things inside there. We'll take a look at those in just a moment. You'll also find for each chapter some practice tests. Again, just a reminder, there's no grade associated with anything here in the study area. It's purely for you to study. By the way, all those assignments you've done all semester long over in Mastering, those are actually really designed to help you study. Even though they're for a grade, those assignments are guided study. At the bottom of that main study area page, you're going to see something called Additional Study Tools, and there's some cool things in there, including one of my favorites, Author Narrated Podcast. Your author, Dr. Erin Ammerman, has narrated what she thinks are some of the main points for each of those chapters. So you can listen to them on the computer, you can listen to them on your mobile devices, you can download them, put them on your phones, whatever you'd like to do with those. They are downloadable. You can also find even more flashcards. So let's go take a look at some of these things in the study area, and I'll show you each of these as we go along. Here we find ourselves in the study area, and as I said, it's arranged kind of like a table of contents. I'm going to open this first item, Study by Chapter, and we're going to see all of the chapters of the textbook. I'm going to scroll down to one that is covered by A&P 2, folks. As we open that up, you can see that this is actually broken down in a really nice way. It's broken down by chapter sections. So really discrete individual topics. Some have got a link to the Etext, some have got just a quiz. Some actually include little videos you can come in here and study. Some actually quite a lot of videos. But let's go back up and take a look at one of these quizzes. They're short, usually 2, maybe up to 4 questions. And as we open these and take a look, you can see how this works. Again, no points here. This is purely just coming in to study. When I get one right, I get told I'm right. When I get one wrong, I get told I'm wrong. And let's see here, erythropoietin is produced by kidneys that's actually going to regulate blood cell production in the bone marrow. Let me get that one right. And I can see my results. Over here, I see that I got 2 right, 1 wrong. I answered them all, so there's no unanswered. I could clear my answers out if I want to come back and try that later on. We could close that panel, and that is the study by chapter. Let's take a look next at practice tests. Several of you have actually asked me if there's a chance to get in and do some practices before the real test. This is a great place to do that. Let me open up chapter practice test, and as we come down here, we can look at any of these. Let's open up special senses. That's one that A&P 1 does. And you can see here, these are bigger. These tend to cover a number of questions. I'm not going to go through and click on 15 different answers, but you kind of see the point here. These will come in here, assess you on some major topics covered by these chapters. You can see the results here. I didn't answer anything yet, so we don't have anything answered. You can reset this all and restart those. But these here under practice test are great places to come in and test yourself on your knowledge of the chapters before you get to the real exam where your grade matters. There are lots of other things here in the study area. I'm actually going to encourage you to get in and explore. For instance, what the heck is that active learning workbook thing? That could be really helpful. What I want to show you next as we finish out this video is additional study tools. We'll pop that open. There are flashcards. You know how flashcards work. I'm not going to open those up and show them to you, but they're handy. The thing I want to show you here is Author Narrated Podcast. Your textbook author, Erin Ammerman, is absolutely awesome. She's come in, and for every single chapter in the book, she's made a podcast for you guys. So let's open up the podcast for Autonomic Nervous System, just for grins. We'll open that up. You can see that we have the text of what she's going to be saying here. You can download the script, you can read it, you can download the MP3, or you can simply click and play it right here. This particular one turns out to be about 10 minutes long. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I will click play so you can hear this.
Welcome to the podcast for Chapter 14 for the textbook Human Anatomy and Physiology by Erin Ammerman. I'm Dr. Ammerman, and today let's talk about the differences between the two branches of the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. Now, this is a topic that I'm always hearing students need help with, and I always see students ask questions about it on the forums. So let's talk about it.
And we'll stop that right there. We don't need to listen to the whole 10 minutes, but you get the point. You can look at it here. You can download just the MP3s. You can download the script and read it if you care to. This is here. It's handy, and it's really helpful. So if you haven't yet come in and spend some time in the study area, my question is, why not? And if you haven't, that's cool. Why not get started now? Have fun, enjoy, and I hope this video has been helpful.